All right, family, yesterday we told some stories about our overcoming overwhelm. Today, we are going to bring you a little grab bag of ways that you can overcome your overwhelm. We're talking leadership this week, and one of the organizations we are so proud to be at the helm of is the Encoding Institute.
We got to co-found the Encoding Institute alongside Dr. Joseph McClendon III, amazing world-renowned neuropsychologist and incredible mentor and teacher. If you're at all interested in learning more about what the Encoding Institute does and what it can do for you, please visit neuroencoding.com.
You're enjoying this episode on Angel Phoenix Productions Podcast Network. To explore a complete lineup of quality programs and media production services, head on over to angelphoenix.com or like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Angel Phoenix Productions.
We're going to start right off with where we ended yesterday, reorienting and reframing yourself to the emotion of overwhelm so that it can be empowering instead of disempowering.
Now, if you tuned into Monday's episode where we talked a little bit about overwhelm, really being when we get overwhelmed by the emotion of stress, there's a really cool stress reframe that actually came out of a Stanford researcher named Kelly McGonigal. And Kelly told us that stress, similarly to nervousness, can actually be reframed in your mind to be something positive, right? If stress, as the WHO defines it, is that any type of change that causes physical, emotional, or psychological strain, then it also means that you get stress when you're growing, which means if you're overwhelmed by stress, you're probably growing a lot.
Right? So just reframing that to be a celebratory moment of like, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed. All right, that means I'm growing. That means I'm stepping into new expectations of myself and my circumstances. And that means this is a sign that I'm going in the right direction. Being able to reframe on that is kind of that similar process we shared on Monday of going from that I'm behind overwhelm and I'm resisting it to I'm next to overwhelm and I'm partnering with it to make my life better. Now, even just hearing those two things spoken, you can probably feel the energetic difference there. Don't we all want to get in alignment? It doesn't mean that we're fighting the negative emotions, but that we're using them in a way that's positive for ourselves. And reframing helps us do that, especially when it comes to overwhelm.
All right, so that first little token in that grab bag is to reframe your overwhelm for a more positive emotional response. The second grab bag we have for you is to break down those larger tasks into smaller parts. Now, if you tuned in on Monday, you heard Shyla talk about chunking and what that can look like, but this is a really practical thing to do. Anytime you have something that feels way too big, just break it down into smaller parts. And the key is break it down into the small parts and give yourself one thing that you can do immediately, because when you take the action, you start to build momentum in a direction that's actually much more constructive for you.
I love this next token going in your bag, and that is to focus on the behaviors, not the feelings. Lots of us get caught up in our feelings. It's easy to do. They are one of the main things that we experience on the inside, but it is not what is most constructive when we are in that emotional state of overwhelm or any kind of stress response. And so being able to shift our focus onto the behaviors rather than the feelings allows us to gain that control and again, take that action.
All right, next piece in that grab bag for you is to develop a structured routine. Have a way of doing things consistently. And even if you tuned in with us on Discipline Week, even if it means giving yourself that baseline set of behaviors that you will accomplish in a day, so that even if you're feeling overwhelmed by your extra to-do list, you have the 5 or 6 things that you never back down from that really help you feel like, you know what, at the very bare minimum, I won today, can be a great way to curb your overwhelm.
All right, next token getting tossed in the bag here. Ask for help. Overwhelm is often a warning sign from you that you've committed yourself to more than you can handle. Well, the good news is you're a human being and you live in society, which means you've got some groups that you rely on and they probably rely on you too. And it's your time. Your number is up to go to your group of trusted people and say, I need help. And the best thing you can do, or a pro tip here, is to then tell them what that help looks like. I need emotional support. I need help picking up the kids. I need a hot meal. I need a shoulder to cry on. I need a date for a hot fudge sundae. Whatever that is, ask for help and be specific. Don't be afraid to do this. It's one of the easiest things to do, the fastest way to solve your problem, and one of the things most of us that identify as high achievers leave on the table.
Toss a token to your sister, so people of plenty.
Yes.
Little Witcher reference
Love
there
that.
for you. Okay, one more token out of this grab bag. Get up and go for a walk. Not only does movement release serotonin in your brain, gives you some instant happy feels if you're feeling overwhelmed, but nature can also be a very grounding thing for you. Even just a few trees outside can give you some warm and fuzzies that can help carry you through that overwhelm. So we hope that you've enjoyed this grab bag of things that you can do when you start to experience overwhelm, and hopefully you're feeling empowered to overcome it when it comes your way.
Hopefully you're feeling overwhelmed by this grab bag of ideas and you'll use one of those tokens on this overwhelm right now.
This podcast was a production of Angel Phoenix Productions. Explore more episodes of this show or other great shows on the Angel Phoenix Podcast Network by visiting angelphoenix.com. The views expressed in this show do not necessarily represent those of Angel Phoenix Productions or its advertisers and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.